All right, so let's go ahead and start this evening on our backs. And there's no specific form or orientation you need to find. Just any reclined posture is fair game. And as you settle in, maybe, allowing yourself to explore a couple different forms in order to figure out what it is that does feel good to you, I would invite you to find a shape that has some level of ease for you, maybe some level of relaxation or softness, a place that maybe just feels like easy to be. And once you land there, knowing there's always an opportunity to make any adjustments that feel good. But wherever you land, you might scan through your body, noticing if there's any holding on the front side of the body, maybe in the hips or shoulders, the jaw, the eyes. You might even let your next exhale be through your mouth, a real release of air. And then from there, the breath might become a little bit smoother. And I'd like to share with you a quote that has been rattling around in my brain lately. It was shared to me just in conversation with one of my teachers. She said this. Her name's Sarah Kinsley. And she said, when it comes to humans, it's not really survival of the fittest. It's survival of the nurtured. As we think about that, there's so many things that go into nurturing a human being. And some of those things we can tend to for ourselves. So the invitation tonight is to make choices that feel nourishing. Sometimes nourishment means pushing. Sometimes it means softening. And so the challenge that we each have is figuring out what we need and how we know what we need. We get this experimentation time here on the mat. As we prepare to start moving, we can start by bringing the hands to the low belly, maybe middle fingers even touch. And here we have the opportunity to feel the breath rise and fall in the space of the abdomen. Maybe you notice your fingers drifting further away on the inhale, closer together on the exhale. And then from here, we can either bring the hands to kind of grab around the outer ribs, or we can even find this kind of hugging of ourselves where opposite hands go toward outer ribs. But either way, we'll turn our attention to the side-to-side expansion and contraction of the breath. Maybe even holding in your mind's eye the awareness of that expansion side to side, and remembering and tuning into that expansion on the top of the abdomen as well. And from here, the final invitation is to slide the hands beneath the lower back And they can be palm face down, just to where you're kind of making contact with the low back a little bit. And it's really subtle, that expansion of the breath into the backside of the body. But take a couple cycles of breath to maybe feel that a little bit of increased pressure on your hands on the inhale, a slight decrease in pressure on the exhale. Now we can picture these 4 dimensions: top, bottom, left side, right side, expanding evenly on the inhale and contracting evenly on the exhale. The hands are beneath the back. We can gently release them. We'll bring them down to the sides. Let's go ahead and step the feet onto the mat about hips distance apart. Eyes can be opened or closed during this. We're going to add some movement in with the breath. So feeling that radiant, fully expansive breath. On the inhale, press into your feet and lift the hips up off of your mat. Exhale, lower the hips back down. Let's do 2 more of those. Inhale, lifting into a low bridge. And exhale, releasing down. Last one, inhale, lift. We're going to stay here for a moment. And we're going to bring our attention to the pelvis. Notice as the hips lift, it can be easy to kind of pop the booty. So think of tucking the tailbone, really elongating through the low back. And then from there, think of pressing evenly into all 4 corners of each foot. And maybe you find that again, a retuck of the tail, and then a press into all 4 corners of each foot. Retuck of tail, press into all 4 corners. And maybe you find a engagement where you really feel your legs fully involved here. You feel your low back protected. And on the exhale, let's take an entire exhale to lower back down to the mat. Once the pelvis lands, lift the feet up off of the mat and find a little rock side to side, massaging out the low back. And coming to land on the sacrum. From here, we'll kick the right leg up. Take a moment to point and flex the toes, circle out the ankle. Maybe you find some pulsation in with that leg, a little bit of length on the back side of it. And then we'll bend that knee down and straighten out the left leg. Same thing, point and flex, circle it out. Find some length on the backside, potentially pulsing that leg in. It can be a really big movement or a really little movement. And bend that knee back down. From here, we'll bring the arms out to a T to start and let the inner legs touch one another. So the legs are kind of a single unit here. We'll draw the knees up toward the left armpit a little bit and then go away through center and then up toward the right armpit. Away through center, up toward left. We'll keep finding these little half circles with the knees for just a moment. You might bring awareness into the hips, the shoulders, and the back of the head. Thinking of all of those points of contact with the mat growing quite heavy. And that might change a little bit of the feel of this motion. An invitation here is to add in some movement of the arms. So if you'd like to add that in and start to bring a little bit of motion into the shoulders, we'll act as though we're holding a big beach ball with the arms. And the knees are kind of moving around the curve of the ball. But then we'll lower the arms the opposite direction as the legs. That's already quite a lot happening. So you might choose to remain with this if you're here. But if you'd like to add in an oscillation of the head, we'll look the same direction as the knees. So we'll roll the head to the right when the knees are right and to the left when the knees are left. You might feel some tension building up on the front side of your core here, front side of your abdomen. And you're welcome to stoke that or to back off of that. So potentially straightening the legs as they come in, or increasing the bend of the legs, making the movement larger or smaller. Knowing these are all equal value options, but that your body might be craving one more than the other. Some people even like to keep their legs kind of straight in the entire movement. Wherever you are, the invitation is to continue for 3, 2, and 1. Gently release the feet down, plant them about as wide as the mat, arms out to a T, let the knees fall in toward one another. Soften through the front sides of the hips, maybe even giving them a little wiggle. We'll bring the feet back toward one another on the mat. With the legs touching this time, we're going to inhale and lift up into this narrow bridge. And then exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. And exhale, lower. Last one, inhale, lift. Pause in the lift. Think of tucking the tail and then pressing into the feet. Tucking the tail, pressing into the feet. Find your point of pause where it feels good to maybe set up for just the breath. And then use the exhale, the entire exhale, to lower down. From here, we'll lower the knees to the right. Take one breath in a supine twist. And then on the exhale, we're going to roll fully to the right side. Right arm is extended out at about 90 degrees. Bring the left palm atop the right. From here, we're going to reach past the past the right fingertips with the left. And then keep the fingers on the mat as much as you can while tracing out the circle around your body. So maybe the hand flips over and the knuckles drag behind you, come up over the booty and the thighs, and then back to the floor. And you might be opening your shoulders quite a bit when you're reaching behind you, kind of rolling a little bit to your back in the process. Finish the circle that you're on. And we're going to change our orientation slightly. So once the left hand is back atop the right, notice every part of your body that's in contact with the mat. Basically all along the right side of your body. And think of all of those places being very heavy. And so as you begin to trace back, instead of prioritizing keeping the fingers low to the mat, prioritize keeping the right side of the body super heavy to the mat. So maybe the fingers hover off of the ground for more of the circle. And the movement's a little more localized into that shoulder. On your next circle, picture narrowing the diameter of the circle. So the hand gets higher and higher off of the mat. In every single circle, it gets a little bit narrower until the left arm is above the shoulder socket. And then from here, soften through the major muscles of the arm, maybe even have a slight bend in that elbow. And allow the bone of the arm to massage out the soft tissue surrounding the shoulder socket. Go one direction or the other, inviting in any movement that feels good. And then on the exhale, release left hand back behind you. So arms are at a T. We'll come through center. Plant the feet wide. Arms are still out to a T. And on an inhale, we'll find a wide legged bridge. And exhale, lower. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. Last one, inhale, lift. Elongate through the low back by tucking through the tail. Press evenly into all four corners of each foot. Tuck the tail, press into the feet. Maybe once more, tuck the tail, press into the feet, finding your wide-legged bridge, and then use the whole exhale to release down. We'll step the feet back toward one another and lower the knees to the left, taking one breath in the supine twist. And then bringing right hand to plant atop the left palm. Same thing as last time, we'll trace circles up overhead, back behind us, letting the knuckles stay in contact with the mat, over the legs and back and front. And maybe this time, since you've done this fully on the other side, you notice how much the rest of your body is moving when tracing these first circles where the fingers are in contact with the floor. And so at the end of your next circle, go ahead and pause for a moment to really become heavy through the left side body. And then find these circles where maybe the hand hovers higher up off of the floor in order to keep the motion really localized into the shoulder, as the rest of the body stays heavy toward the mat. Start to decrease the diameter of these circles, letting the hand get higher and higher in the air until the wrist is up above the shoulder, and we can really soften through the major muscles of the arm and let that bone massage out the soft tissue surrounding the shoulder. And then from here, use an exhale, lower the right arm out to the right. Roll back onto the backside of your body and draw the knees in toward the chest. Give a little rock side to side. Maybe noticing how things feel through your shoulders, through your low back. At this point in the class, we haven't moved far from our starting position, but we've already done quite a bit of engagement work. Let's interlace all fingers. Turn the palms face up and reach above the head. Find some length between left and right side bodies. And then on your exhale, using whatever method you want to get up to a seat. That can be a fast rock, a slow rock. You can use the hands. You can find some core work along the way. Once you arrive at the seat, inhale, arms up, palms touch overhead. On the exhale, lower right fingertips reach over with the left fingers. Inhale, return through center. Exhale, lower left fingers reach over with right. Inhale, up through center. On the exhale, we're going to come over into a tabletop position. We're going to start to pick up the pace here. So let's take just a couple moments to circle shoulders over wrists, find any movement here, maybe cat-cow, maybe side to side. Whatever your body seems to want in this moment. Trying to nourish it the best that you can. And as you feel ready, let's slide hands forward about a handprint. We're going to do 2 cycles of cat-cow with toes tucked. Inhales are pretty standard. But exhales, as we press the mat away, we'll hover the knees up off of the mat. Inhale, back through cow. Exhale, press the mat away, hover the knees up. Last one, inhale through cow. On the exhale, hover the knees up and then shift the hips back, bringing belly toward knees, legs really bent, bouncing through the shoulders, maybe finding some opening here. And then shifting into your more traditional downward facing form. Give yourself a couple breaths here, whether in movement or stillness. On your next inhale, let's draw the right leg up. Exhale, knee comes in toward nose or forehead. Inhale, extend. Exhale, knee comes in. Inhale, extend. This time, open the hip, acting as though you're pressing the bottom of the foot toward the seam of the wall and ceiling back behind you. And then on your exhale, bend through that knee, keeping the hip open. And we're gonna step the foot toward the outer right hand. Lower the left knee, inhale, chest chin up. On your exhale, left foot steps toward outer left hand, find your active squat. Take a breath here. Inhale, rise all the way up, reach tall. And then exhale, hands come back down through heart center. We're gonna turn to face the direction of the right toes. Lift the toes up off the mat, spread out through the toes, and then bend a little bit into that knee as you sweep the left leg back, finding a warrior three. Feel the strength of the right leg here as you lift through the low belly, reach out of the crown of the head, out of the left heel. Palm to palm, broaden through the collarbones. On your exhale, step the left foot back toward the center of the mat. Lower the left hand and inhale, reach the right arm up, open twist. Exhale, right hand comes down, right foot steps back toward left, set up in your plank. Take a breath here. On the exhale, let's lower knees and elbows. Look forward, pull yourself forward, landing the pelvis onto the mat, pressing into it and the tops of the feet as you draw your heart up and forward. Elbows hug in. Exhale, release down and pause. Option to temp the fingers out to the sides or keep them where they were. Press into the feet, press into the pelvis, peel that heart up. And here I want to invite some exploration. That might mean lowering the shoulder and twisting. It might mean lifting and lowering through center a few times. It might mean adjusting the shape of the legs, maybe drawing feet in or moving where the hands are placed. So take a moment to explore your back bend. A normal exhale and release back down to the mat. Finding our way up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg up. Exhale, knee toward nose or forehead. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bring it in. Inhale, extend. This time, open the hip with that leg straight again, thinking that foot reaching toward the seam of ceiling and wall. And then bend that knee and step the left foot toward the outer left hand. Lower the right knee, inhale, chest chin up. Exhale, right foot steps wide, active squat. Take a breath here. On your exhale, rise all the way up and draw hands through heart center. Shift to look the direction as the left toes. Again, maybe lifting the toes and spreading them. Bend into that knee and begin to swing the right leg back, finding our warrior three. Same thing here, low belly lifts up, reach out of the right heel, reach out of the crown of the head, press palm to broaden through the front side of the chest. There's only a front side of the chest. You know what I mean. Bend into the left knee, lower right toes towards center of mat. Right hand comes down at the front edge. Inhale, left arm, open twist. Exhale, plant the left hand, step it back, plank pose, one breath here. Opportunity to find the same vinyasa we did to lower through a chaturanga, to find any other variation of a vinyasa. We'll all meet back in a downward facing dog. Next, inhale, right leg extends up. Exhale, knee toward nose or forehead just once. Inhale, kick that leg up, open the leg, stepping it, or not stepping it, reaching it long. On the exhale, we're gonna keep that leg long and draw it out to the side, and then draw it forward as much as you can, lowering it out wide, but straightened on the mat. And there might be some bend, but we're kind of going towards straight. Bend into that leg, and then straighten. Bend, and straighten. Bend back into it and step the left foot wide, finding your active squat, front edge of the mat. And exhale, hands through heart center. Turn to face the same direction as the right toes. We're gonna swing that left leg back, finding warrior three once more. This time, invitation to stay here, or to exhale, knee toward right calf, Shiva squat. Inhale to extend. Exhale to bring it in. One more, inhale, extend. Let's all exhale, draw that left knee in, hold here for 3, 2, 1. Step the left toes back, left hand comes to the mat. This time, turn the toes to face the right edge of the mat. Inhale, right arm up. On the exhale, lower the left hip down, reach the right hand toward the back edge of the mat. Inhale to lift all the way up. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift. On the exhale, thread the left hand underneath the left armpit. Crawl the hands wide, finding your wide edge of the mat. Turn both sets of toes out, bend halfway to the knees. Inhale, bring it up. Goddess squat. Take a moment here, maybe alternately bending into one leg and the other. Maybe letting the hands come to the knees and finding some twists of the spine. Again, noting for yourself, what do you truly need? Do you need to push and find that fire? Or do you need to soften and let things smolder a little bit? One more breath here. On your next inhale, straighten out through all of the limbs. Turn the toes to face the long edge of the mat. Bring hands either to heart center or keep them outstretched. As you exhale, hinge halfway forward. Finding that half forward fold. And then exhale, hands down to the mat. Let the torso hang heavy. Only here for a couple of breaths. We'll come back to it on the other side. So notice how it feels here. Notice any prominent sensation. And then use an inhale to crawl the hands forward, lengthen the spine, look forward. And then this time we're gonna walk the hands to the left foot at the back edge of the mat. From here, we're gonna inhale, find our way up, high lunge. Bring the hands through heart center. And we're so used to stepping forward, we're gonna challenge ourselves. So begin to shift the weight front to back to front. And we're gonna hop the left foot back. So we're standing at the front edge of our mat, but facing the back edge. All right, from here, hands are at heart center, bend the right heel up. And then bring the right hand back to either grab onto that outer ankle or the outer foot. Option to stay right here, drawing knee down while you pull heel towards sit bone. Or invitation to bring the left hand forward and add a kick of foot into hand. Maybe noticing that you can't help but hinge forward a bit as that happens. If you want to go into full dancer, You can always bring your right hand to the inside edge of the foot and then kick into it, finding your dancer pose in that way. We're here for 3, 2, 1. For our last breath here, really hug outer hips in and gently release the foot down, wiggle it out, move the arms out. We'll inhale, reach tall. Exhale, hinge forward, folding up the hips. Bring the hands down to the mat and notice which hand you're gonna move first. And then begin to crawl the hands out. Finding your downward facing dog. Invitation to take a vinyasa, to skip a vinyasa, to do whatever might feel good to you right here. And we're all gonna ripple forward into a plank. Move the left hand beneath the nose, roll to the outer left foot, finding your side plank. Option to stay here if you're protecting the left shoulder or to lower the hips toward the mat. And inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Bend the right knee, potentially finding a little tree side plank. Look toward the left hand. Step the right foot toward that hand. And crawl all the way to the front edge of your mat. Step the left foot back. Find your downward facing dog. All right. Let's do that on the second side. Let's inhale, left leg up. Exhale, knee toward nose. Inhale, lift. Open the hip, press that foot toward the seam of the wall and ceiling, and then kick the leg out to your left, and then bring it as far forward on the mat as you can. Bend into the left knee, inhale. Exhale, straighten both legs any amount, look back. Inhale, bend. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend, shift the weight forward and step the right foot wide. Find your active squat. On your exhale, hands come to heart center, shift to face the left toes. Press into that foot, bring the right leg all the way up and back, warrior 3. Invitation to stay here or to exhale, knee toward left calf. Inhale, extend. Exhale, bend it in. Inhale, extend. This time we'll all exhale, bend it in, hold here for 3, 2, 1. Kick the right foot back, plant it on the mat. Lower the right hand, turn the toes to the left long edge of mat. Inhale, left arm up and overhead. Exhale, lower the right hip toward the mat, look toward the back foot. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, thread the left hand underneath the right armpit. Crawl to the wide edge of the mat. Both sets of toes turn out. Inhale, goddess squat. Again, we can find as much intensity or sweetness as we want here. Bringing the hands down to the legs can feel really supportive. And we can bring a little more attention into maybe the spine. Keeping the arms lifted here might add a little more fire if you're liking provoking some heat at this point. There's no right or wrong way to be here. And you don't need to be here at all. You can always choose to be elsewhere. I love whenever in a class I look around and nobody's doing the same thing. It's a good sign that people are really listening to themselves. One more breath. Inhale, let's all straighten all of the limbs. Point the toes to face the long edge of the mat. Whether arms are straightened up overhead or hands are at hips, we're gonna go halfway forward, hinging at the hips. Press into all 4 corners of each foot. And then exhale, soften the rest of the way down, finding your Prasarita Padottanasana, wide-legged forward fold. Notice what happens when we have these moments of stillness. If your body's like, yes, this is great. Or if you find yourself kind of antsy to move again, if your mind settles or wanders, knowing there's No expectation, it's just a place to observe. One more breath here. Inhale, crawl the hands forward, lengthen the spine, look forward, and then we'll crawl to face the right foot at the back edge of the mat. And inhale up, high lunge. Exhale, hands through heart center. We're gonna do that same thing. Move weight front to back to front, and then step to the back foot. Nice. Yeah, for some reason it's a lot harder, but a lot of falls that happen in the elderly population happen from falling backwards. We're not as used to catching ourselves going backwards. And so if we train ourselves to get used to that throughout our lives, it can be really helpful and protect us a bit. All right, from here, this time we're gonna shift weight into the right foot, and we'll bring left heel up toward left sit bone. Reach around and grab that foot or ankle, and take a moment to just find that resistance between hand and foot and to keep that knee drawing straight down. You probably feel some sensation on the front of the left hip being right here. Invitation to stay here or to add a kick of the foot into the hand. If you want to go into full dancer, bring the hand inside of the left foot. That just rotates the shoulder to where we can add a little more kick and it feels a little more supported in the body as your right hand reaches forward. I'm going to count down here in a moment, and then we're going to stay for one more breath with an added engagement. So here for 3, 2, 1. Now add in a squeeze of the outer hips in. And exhale, release, shake it out. Whew. Find whatever movement feels good. And then on an inhale, we'll reach the arms all the way up. And exhale, fold it forward. All right, pop quiz time. Do you remember which hand you moved forward last time? Because you want to go the opposite one this time. And crawl your way all the way into whatever variation of a downward dog feels good in your body right now. Maybe you take a vinyasa, maybe you skip a vinyasa. We'll end up rocking into a plank and moving the right hand beneath the nose, lifting the left arm up, finding a side plank. Really focus on lifting the hips up here. That contraction through the right side body will give you some support. Invitation to stay here or to lower and lift. Lower and lift. Bend the left knee, maybe finding a tree side plank. And then step that foot toward the right hand and crawl all the way to the right foot at the front edge of your mat. From here, we're gonna step that right foot back, lower the knees, and send the hips back onto the feet. All right, take a moment here in this seat. Maybe moving through the shoulders or the neck, the wrists. Becoming aware of your breath again, if that's drifted out of focus. And if you liked having that tactile sense of breath, you might bring a hand to your belly or to your outer ribs, maybe a hand to the low back, a hand to the belly. And find that radiant breath again. Expanding evenly like a balloon within the abdomen. Contracting just as evenly on the exhale. One more breath here. Breathing deeply through the nose. Exhale through the mouth, let it go. From here, let's go ahead and come up to kneeling and tuck the toes under. Bring the arms out ahead of you, about shoulder height, palms facing down. And think of really tucking the tail down. So if you think about it, we're kind of in that same orientation as we started on our backs for bridge. It's just that now we are head up instead of belly up. So think of finding almost that same form where the hips are forward, but we lean back with the torso any amount. And then come back up through center. Lean back through the torso any amount. And come back up through center. Last one, lean back. We're going to hold wherever feels right to hold today for 3, 2, 1. Pull back up, reach the arms tall, inhale. Exhale, hands come down to the low back. Fingers point down, press the hips forward, reach the heart up. Hips forward, heart up. Hips forward, heart up until you find your camel pose. Inhale, rise all the way back up. And on the exhale, we're going to keep the hips over the knees, but crawl the hands forward, melting into our puppy pose. The forehead might touch the mat or float above it. If the forehead touches the mat and you kind of lose engagement through the arms, that's probably a sign that you're ready to work toward bringing the chest and chin toward the mat. And then maybe you'll feel, again, some engagement through the arms. One more breath here. On an inhale, lift gently upward. Keep pressing into the hands as you rock forward, lowering your pelvis to the mat, drawing shoulders back and toward one another. Seal pose. And then from here, we're going to bring left forearm parallel to the front edge of the mat and draw right heel towards sit bone. Think of pressing into the top of the left foot and pressing into the pelvis as you reach back for that right foot. There's a couple things we can do here. Option 1 is to kick foot into hand. Option 2 is to come to the inside edge of the foot and kind of smear the hand atop the foot until the fingers point forward and the elbow points up. And they just create some different sensations. And so you might experiment with a couple different options here and see what feels best. Gently release wherever you are. Bring the right forearm parallel to the front edge of the mat. Squeeze that left heel in. And again, find whatever variation or variations feel good to you. If you're feeling this as like, ooh, in the low back, really keep pressing down with the pelvis. And gently release. Go ahead and melt the torso down for just a moment. Bend the knees. Let's find some windshield wiper of legs side to side. Go ahead and bring the legs back down. We're going to move the hands fairly far back. Think of like more underneath the elbows and tend to the fingers. Press into the tops of the feet, press into the pelvis, peel the low belly toward the spine. And then on an inhale, keep shoulders drawn toward each other, elbows hugged in. Peel the torso up any amount. Option from here to bend into the legs, reaching toes toward head. Now, if you're like me, it's going to be a very far distance between your toes and your head, but we're here experimenting with it. So think of still reaching down through the pelvis, even if the pelvis lifts up off of the mat, and then kind of reaching the chin back in space. On your exhale, use your body's wisdom to ease out and find a child's form. Potentially noticing if it would feel good to keep moving, or if it would feel better to settle into stillness. That's a deep back bend, sometimes going straight into stillness in the opposite range of motion might actually feel a little intense. Sometimes finding movement feels more nourishing. Totally depends. One breath here. Inhale, peel your way back up. We have a couple options, guys. So I want us to find some external rotation. That can be a traditional pigeon pose. It can be a seated pigeon, or it can be a reclined pigeon, finding this on your back. The option that I'm going to cue, just because it takes more cueing, is an arm balance variation of pigeon pose. So if you're like, yes, I'm loving this heat we've been building and you want to continue with it, then you'll actually come up to standing and you'll bring the right ankle to the left knee. And the first thing that you'll do is ease the hips back, finding a figure 4 chair. And then from here, you might say, dang, this feels good. I want to hang out here. Or you might say, I want to get into the arm balance. At which point we would bring hands down to the mat. Setting up shoulder distance apart and keeping in mind that like real pressing into the hands. We want to already start gripping. We'll bring the right knee or shin to the right elbow, and the left elbow is going to have the right toes hooked around it, like they're just hooked around it and really gripping. As you lean forward, look at a place on your mat. Maybe you feel that you can hug the left toes up. Maybe you feel that you can reach that leg up behind you. And it's a really intense form, like Galavasana, flying pigeon. And so let yourself just explore it without expectation. Let there be laughter or grunting or falling or whatever might ensue as a part of the process. You might experiment with this one more time on this side. Sometimes people have their shin really low toward their elbows and find it a little more challenging. Or they have like, trying to think of the alignment I often see. You need to make sure that your left knee is like just the top of it is on the right leg. If your leg is too far, like if your left knee slides too far down so that it's like your thigh on your right ankle, it's going to be really hard to lift that leg away because there's like so much upward movement that needs to happen. All right, so wherever you are, we'll prepare to go to the other side in whatever variation of external rotation you've decided on for yourself. And this is also a great place to check in and see, okay, did I like how that felt in my body? Because it doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical. If that didn't feel like what you were wanting, then you can always find a different variation of external rotation for the other side. If you're doing the chair variation, remember to set up first in your chair and then bring the hands down toward the mat. Plant the hands shoulder distance apart. We'll bring the left knee or shin to the left elbow. The toes really grip around the outer right arm. Maybe we can press the mat away enough to lift the right toes off the mat. Maybe the right leg lifts. Feel free to explore a couple times. This can feel really intense on the backs of the arms. I remember learning arm balances, my arms would just be covered in bruises. If you're balanced out on both sides, we can start to think about making our way a little closer to the mat. So wherever you are, go ahead and allow yourself to find your sit bones on the mat. And we can lower back down and find a couple rocks side to side. And because we've done so much back bending today, really working on getting some funkiness moved through the back, then we might feel interested in finding some compensation like this, where we're really kind of crunched in and the back is rounding instead of contracting. Alternately, you might feel very warmed up and interested in one more closing back bend. If that is the case, then our first option is a bridge, just as we opened class, finding that tuck of the tail and then lift of the hips, pressing of all four corners of each foot into the mat. Just kind of moving through that progression, however feels best to you. You might add some slight pressure into the back of the head. That can feel nice and opening for the front of the throat and the airways. If you want to work on a wheel form, then you can bring your palms pointing toward your shoulders, fingers pointing toward your shoulders on either side of your ears. And then lift up the hips as though going into a bridge, but then add in a press of the hands to lift the torso up. And here it's easy to kind of hang out back here. So think of pressing into the feet and reaching the heart forward, just like we would if we were in a cobra or an up dog. You can work on straightening out through the legs or stepping the feet in close to the hands. And then gently lower back down. Sometimes after a back bend, something like a plow pose or a happy baby can feel really nice to just kind of neutralize through the back. And I would invite you to investigate in your body if there's anything else that seems nice. And maybe it's something that could be addressed in your final form of rest, such as a certain leg orientation or arm positioning. But maybe there's a few more forms or motions that would feel good. Once you do begin to settle, there's an invitation to bring to mind that opening quote. For humans, it's not so much survival of the fittest, survival of the nurtured. And as a way of finding a pretty embodied form of meditation in these final moments, you might bring to mind a moment when you have felt nurtured. Maybe it was somebody doing something nice for you, asking how you were, listening to you as you talked. Maybe it was somebody offering you a hug or a meal, sharing time with you in nature. Maybe it was getting a good night's sleep or taking a shower, cooking something for yourself, soaking in sunlight, finding movement. You might hold on to that felt sense of what it is to be nurtured, what it is to not just have moments of survival, but moments where you feel like you're truly being tended to, purposefully and intentionally cultivated. Those moments where you feel like you're thriving in some significant way, even if it's so small and subtle and nobody else sees it. Notice where in your body you feel this right now. You might bring your attention back to your breath. Potentially deepening the inhale, lengthening the exhale. Noticing how that already invites a little more movement through the body. And from there, adding more movement if it at all feels of interest. We'll eventually find our way to a seat, but as always, take your time in getting there, noticing your habitual movements and potentially finding an alternate path, even if it's bringing one leg in first instead of the other, or bringing both legs in at the same time, rolling to the opposite side. On your next inhale, the arms can come out to the sides and up, palms touching overhead. Exhale, hands come down through heart center. Might we continue to honor ourselves, to be aware of ourselves, to make choices that truly nourish ourselves, knowing that every time we allow ourselves to show up as our best selves, we allow ourselves to better help others, better connect to others, better support and nurture others. Namaste.